You're the founder and director of TechCon Pro. And prior to that, for a very long period of time, you were a police officer.
In India, once you are in the IPS, you are a supervisory, a very paternalistic and a benevolent person from the day one, and you don't basically dirty your hands. But wherever all of us have to go, not intend to go, where all of us have to go is technology. So when everything was breaking down, he thought of Sanjay Sir. Unfortunately, I did not buy Bitcoin. Had I bought even 8, 10 of those Bitcoin, I would have been a millionaire then, now. And with e-governance, I forcibly took 1 crore from them. 73 lakhs out of reappropriation in the police headquarters. But when you leave at the prime of the career, your passion is basically tom-tommed all around. Oh, see, he left at 55 only and see his passion for technology. I will give you very clear-cut instances of 3 companies. And 3 companies happen to be Wipro, HP and Microsoft. So I thought that the biggest issue which this country faces as far as the technology is concerned is the incapability to create a technology solution itself in the first place. And then bringing in the right technologies and the right system integrator and the right vendor and to see it through from end to end. Now we have enough coders in this country who will not be able to match ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Comet, whatever. Has the Indian IT ever thought about that we are at the crossroads of technology and humanity? You tell me. You have been in technology.
I don't think so.
So we have never thought about it. That this whole 2000 crores, it was spent to create a national database on crime and criminals. Do we have that database with full integrity?
Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Sync with SK. Today we have a fantastic guest, a very accomplished guest with lots and lots of experience in various fields. And as we go through this podcast, you will find out why I am saying this, why I am qualifying it with highly accomplished. So with that, I would like to introduce the guest for today's podcast. He is Mr. Sanjay Sahai, founder and director of TechCon Pro, a technology consulting firm. And prior to starting this or establishing this firm, he was with the Karnataka Police Force. He is an ex-IPS officer. When he came out of the police force by way of voluntary retirement, he was Additional Director General of Police.
Right.
So with that introduction, we will dig deep into all the accomplishments and all the challenges that he had throughout his career of 31 years. He is a decorated Karnataka police officer. So with that very short introduction, we will jump into it. Sir, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Bunti, for having invited me and for those very, very liberal compliments which you have showered on me. I think we should get into the conversation, and might be whatever compliments you have showered on me, I come to that level by which I think the audience might find it worthy of whatever they carry home.
Sure. Sir, you are the founder and director of TechCon Pro. And prior to that, for a very long period of time, you were a police officer. How did this idea of TechCon Pro come into
It's a
existence?
long story, and might be there are a couple of areas which might not be of any great interest, but I'd like to connect those areas also.
Sure.
So somewhere when I was doing my schooling, 8th, 9th and 10th, I was very bad in maths and science. So I thought might be is because of maths and science I've not been able to perform well. And it exactly happened that I did not perform well in my 10th standard, moved into my plus 2. We used to call it plus 2 those days. So once I moved into plus 2, within a span of 18 to 20 months, I think my scores literally started hitting the roof. And those 18-20 months, which is from August 1980 to 16th of July 1982, from a mediocre student in a very mediocre school in the backwaters of Bihar, now it's Jharkhand, in the backwaters of Bihar, 18-20 months later, on 16th of July 1982, I was in St. Stephen's College, India's premier institution. So that is a transformation which I saw after I left maths and science. Might be it's not necessarily only for that reason, but that was certainly one of the stumbling blocks. Fast forward to the year 2000. 2000 and land in a place called Pristina in Kosovo in Yugoslavia, working with the United Nations. And there one day I was called for an interview. So I went for that interview. None of us wanted to do the hard work. Because in India, once you are in the IPS, you are a supervisory, a very paternalistic and a benevolent person from the day one, and you don't basically dirty your hands in actually what you see of the police and what the police does. So that being the situation, so we were put on very hardcore jobs in temperatures of minus 18 degrees, 20 degrees. So somehow it was not very suitable to whatever we had learned and picked up and what we thought of ourselves. So I went for an interview. The job was Chief of Kosovo Police Service, Recruitment and Selection. So I went for the job. I was interviewed. I was pretty fine with HR. I'd done enough of HR here. And so finally he gave me a 1.44-inch floppy. Correct. And he says you write your CV in that. So couple of times I had touched computers before that. And primarily even switching it on and off was primarily through the power only, through the direct switch only,
Yeah.
not even the power button of the laptop. Correct. So I went to a friend of mine. They had so much of faith, or might be that was the system. So they allowed me to carry that floppy and write my CV and come back. So I went to a friend of mine who comes from the IIT background. So I went and told him, look, man, this is the situation. If I clear, then I get this position. Otherwise, I'm again back on that minus 26 degrees centigrade road. So he helped me out. He abused me because batchmate, so he abused me and they useless people, you do only trial and error, you do this, you do that. Anyway, so that was a part of the game. I was ready to take all that nonsense in order to get a cushy job as the head of that organization. So, a 3-page CV. I brought it down to 2 paragraphs. Not because I wanted to bring it down to 2 paragraphs, because the time given to me, possibly I did not know even copy paste. I just didn't know anything. So I just went typing, and because the English was fine, so I was able to pull it off. And when I gave that 2-paragraph CV, they were impressed that I could put everything in such a concise and a cogent manner, not realizing the fact is because of my handicap in technology, I've written only 2 paragraphs. See, that day I realized that technology is the future. And from wherever I come, that is immaterial. But wherever all of us have to go, not intend to go, where all of us have to go is technology. So that was May 2000. And today is September 2025. 25 years, there's hardly been a day when I have not practiced technology. And I'm an executioner. I am not the theoretician type fellow. Because otherwise also, if you're not an engineer and you get into technology, primarily you'll get into a mechanic sort of a job, and mechanics are much better than engineers. Correct. So, rightly or wrongly. So, I take that stand. Then I got into variety of things. After coming back from Kosovo, we started the first cybercrime police station. And then as luck will have it, I'm vocal, I think, from very small age. And I used to criticize. There's something called a police IT project in Karnataka. It went on for around 7-8 years. And I used to play around with Photoshop. And my boss, Mr. K.S. Srinivasan, so he told me, hey, computer nimge chennagi gottide, which means that he felt that I knew computer. And as luck will have it, one day we were going for a meeting. And I think that was related to some surveillance or censorship. Something was there. So he told me, this act, no, can you help me out? I said, you give me just 5 minutes, I'll come back from my office. He was on first floor, I was on ground floor. So I come back to my office. I opened my sister's already on and picked up a couple of paragraphs from that bare act, pasted it at one place, make it a logical, sensible reading for the meeting we were going to attend in the Chief Secretary's chamber. He said, oh, so much you did in 3 minutes only. So he was convinced of the fact that I knew computers. And that was the death knell. Correct. So when everything was breaking down, he thought of Sanjay Sai. And he made me the head of Karnataka Police Computerization, which was completely, it was in the gallows. It was literally on the gallows. It was hung. So I joined. And I also thought, like Mr. Srinivasan, that I knew computers. So knowing computer, doing small amount of work, doing some cyber forensics, establishing a lab, giving big lectures, PPTs, so all that drama was fine. But when you get into core IT work, which means from an individual using IT to running an enterprise which is only IT and IT. So I had a ERP. I was putting in the whole network in place. I was creating a data center. I was doing capacity building. I was doing procurement. I was teaching everything. I was doing not POC, user acceptance test. So literally anything and everything with 75 nodal officers, I used to literally bulldoze all across the state. So that was the core. In 27 months, I brought everything to the situation. And today, it is in the 15th or the 16th year, 5 years after I have led the Karnataka police. It is running fine, integrated to literally any and every system in this country. So from there, I moved on. Somehow I caught a fancy. I started writing, I started speaking. And one fine day, I think Western Command of the Indian Army, they wanted me to speak on cyber security. Though I'm one of the very recognized speakers and a very known face in cyber security, let me tell you very frankly that I've never studied or I've never practiced cyber security in a big way. It's just been as a matter of passion. And if you make me an expert, I think any of you would love to take that sort of a name or a title or euphemism, whichever way you call it. So it went on into that. I got into cyber security. I got into blockchain technology. And blockchain technology in 2014, 2015, I think. Unfortunately, I did not buy Bitcoin. Had I bought even 8, 10 of those Bitcoin, I would have been a millionaire now. So, but anyway, this knowledge part went on happening and happening and happening. And I finally realized somewhere in 2017, 2018 and all that, that whatever I had to give to the government, so I've already given. What government had to extract out of me, I think government has also neatly done its job. Beyond that, it is not the competence and the gumption or the courage of the government to extract anything more. So things where it had plateaued. And wherever I wanted to do something more, I would tell you 2 projects. So one is the Passport Seva Mobility, which I did in Karnataka, where I was told that why are you breaking your head? Why are you giving your life? If money is not there, the project cannot happen, let it not happen. To cut the long story short, I struggled with TCS for nearly 18 to 20 months. And with e-governance, I forcibly took 1 crore from them, 73 lakhs out of reappropriation in the police headquarters. So literally there was not even a single penny. And all my accomplishment on the technology side, I finally, it's a tribute to my understanding of finance. So now you see the situation. A person who doesn't know maths and science is doing reasonably well in technology and finance. So that is how life is all about. And I don't think everything is interconnected. Might be you should know to delineate things which are of your use and to the use of the people who actually matter, or the work which actually matters. So it went on, and so finally I thought might be it will be waste of another 5.5 years in the government. And I thought it is enough, and I pull it off. And one thing which I'm very, very clear about, at 60, had I left, then I would have been a spent force and nobody would have taken me seriously. But when you leave at the prime of the career, your passion is basically tom-tommed all around. Oh, see, he left at 55 only, and see his passion for technology. Passion was there or not there, there's a different story altogether. But I practiced, and I practiced it beyond that. Now, where does TechCon Pro come?
Yeah.
So I've been seeing tech companies, which we call vendors, from year 2001. And I always believe that these companies are state-of-art companies who are interested in pushing right technologies for the benefit of whosoever is the customer and consequently the user. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Unfortunately, that was not the case. And I will give you very clear-cut instances of 3 companies. And 3 companies happen to be Wipro, HP, and Microsoft. So this is one part of the story. The second part of the story revolves around what we call as system integrators. So you have technology, you have a problem statement, you have a request for proposal, you have a project, you have a money, you have everything. But these are different pieces. So somebody will have to stitch. And that person, that enterprise should have the capability to stitch. The third factor or the third very important stakeholder are the consultants. So consultant moved in a big way in around 2002-3 when mission mode projects came into existence. Some 27 mission mode projects, and I think somewhere in the tune of 60,000-70,000 crores of say around 2004, 5, 6, and it's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
See, today it would be lakhs of crores. So I'd seen this system not stitching what they're supposed to, and everybody giving his or her part of the story. And because of the desperation of the government and desperation of the officials who were there, so finally the project would be declared to be commissioned.
Even without getting commissioned.
I will not get into that whether with or without or whatever. But this broken system, in a more generic manner, I'll call it out, that this broken system, what it would be able to produce, I leave it to your imagination. Correct. And what it was able to produce, it produced only that much.
Very suboptimal.
It produced only that much. Having produced that much, life went on. Then I realized that there are other projects in other departments and other mission mode projects which are facing the same issue. So I thought that the biggest issue which this country faces as far as the technology is concerned is the incapability to create a technology solution itself in the first place, and then bringing in the right technologies and the right system integrator and the right vendor, and to see it through from end to end, from ideation to commissioning and might be operations and maintenance. So I thought this is a problem statement. Now that I've decided to quit, this is a problem statement which I need to tackle. So we created this company, and it works on a gig economy model. The tagline is stitching technology solutions.
Okay.
So we as a gig economy, as a platform, it's a platform company. As a platform, the core work which we do is to understand the pain point and the requirement of the customer to a level where the customer also does not understand. Then bring it to a solution level where most of it in last 4 years I do myself with some inputs here and there. The first concept paper or the technology solution or the presentation to the customer, I do it myself. There are inputs which I certainly get from large number of people. And once that is approved, that is consented, then either you go for a project plan, or if you have so much of confidence in that particular project, which I do in couple of areas now. So after the concept paper or the basic requirement gathering, and if all of us have consented that it is fine, so we jump over that project plan, and straight away we come to the bill of material and the costing and a timeline for that particular project. So this is broadly what we have been doing. We have done with Jindal, we have done with Hindustan Petroleum, we have done Forest Department of Karnataka. Currently, we are working, as we are located in Bangalore. So one project we are doing with Bagmane Tech Park, another we are doing with Bangalore International Exhibition Authority. So a variety of places we do. My learning over the last 5 years is that instead of getting into very big project, the ideal situation would be you get into a mid-sized project of 25 to 50 lakhs, where the gestation period is just around 3 to 6 months. And whatever money it finally brings to you, do. But main issue is to create that capability. So this is how TechCon Pro came into existence. The other vested interest which I carry is that I never wanted to get retired. I have this feeling for long many years, decades, and today also I have that feeling that the day I get up and I don't have enough and sufficient work, not only for that day, for that week or that month, but might be for a couple of years in advance, I think I might die of a heart attack. For me, extreme amount of comfort and luxury and all that is couple of hours of with friends, might be some freak out or whatever. So that is how it is. And I still feel that broken system in the government and also to a great extent in the private sector. So that continues.
But that talks and that brings about a very interesting and very important point, which is a necessity for the country now. It is about skills, right?
Right.
So if we lack the skills, first place is to accept that we lack the skill, and how do we develop the skills? That is a
I'll
point.
tell you one thing. We will get into the hard skills, I think, what you're talking about. I'll get into a hypothetical situation wherein AI or whatever the technology is able to do everything what the technologist does today. Then where will you add value? Correct. So primarily now we come to two skills mainly. You can break it down to any number of skills. Correct. So first we come in the hardcore skills. We come to coding, which is the mainstay of technology, mainstay of IT, mainstay of whatever. Now we have enough coders in this country who will not be able to match ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Comet, whatever. Correct. Which means that their basic hardcore skill was unconnected to the solution, was unconnected to the domain, was unconnected to the ecosystem, was unconnected to the delivery, impact, and henceforth. Correct. The worst communicators are technologists of India.
Of India.
And they feel that I am a techie, so all of us should keep them on our head. And they feel that there is no need to interact with anybody. They are techie, so everything will be brought to them. And whatever they churn out of whatever quality, we have to carry it home. Now that is where it is getting busted.
Okay.
So coding is one hardcore stuff I am talking about as an example. The point is that you code, right? You code for what? You code for what? Steve Jobs said that we are at the intersection of technology and humanity. We are at the crossroads of technology and humanity, which means liberal arts or domain. That was his way of talking about liberal arts or domain or expertise or governance or public policy or whatever, or even manufacturing, so to say. Has the Indian IT ever thought about that we are at the crossroads of technology and humanity? You tell me. You have been in technology.
I don't think so.
So we have never thought about it. So one is the hardcore. Second is the capability to understand the domain, synergize the two, and then create the product.
Okay.
You are not ready to take input for a integration testing, for a load balancing. Correct. So what has happened, the huge challenge is, even where people have tried their level best, the domain experts and who are literally the business owners, these people have not listened. Take a simple example, very recent example. This is the income tax software, which Infosys was making. Now, one of the founders of Infosys says that we are not auditors, accountants and all that. Unfortunately, he is one. So, there is a different part of the story. But when you are not chartered accountants and auditors and whatever skills are required, then why do you take up an income tax project? So you take a 4,200 crore project and you say that you don't have the domain expertise, and to their credit and credit of large number of IRS officers who are there who are supposedly the domain experts, after 22 months of a 24-month project, you say that we don't have the capability. Where will we go? So I'll give you innumerable instances of this nature. Now the great software which I am boasting of. Correct. Now, where does it stand now? And the only pointer is that this whole 2000 crores, it was spent to create a national database on crime and criminals. Do we have that database with full integrity? Whether it can be used to facilitate most of the policing activities by way of either big data analytics or pattern or connect, or in whichever manner the investigator requires, or the intelligence guy requires, or the enforcement people require. We don't hear of it. I think one benchmark or parameter which I keep talking about is passport verification. So if we have a national database, why should it go to the police station in the first place?
Yes.
Correct. So one is a database of integrity, and second is whether it is dynamic and real time. See, the world runs on dynamic and real time databases. You are saying, no, from Swiggy to Amazon to anything, you name it. You take Sunita Williams' story, right? Totally unconnected to whatever we are talking. Did you not know everything split second? You did. Was Sunita Williams communicating to you? Was she communicating to you? Was she communicating to the world? No.
No.
It is a process, a system-generated information which has been conceptualized in that manner. It is not that when Vande Bharat train comes, that time the driver keys in something. It doesn't key in anything. There are systems which will make it known to the whole world that Vande Bharat train has left Chennai and where it's going, whatever. You see the flight statuses.
Yeah.
Correct. There was a time we used to ask, Acho, which flight you're going, what time you'll reach. Now, if I dare ask 2-3 big questions, my son will give me just the flight number. So that's enough. And we feel more comfortable with that. So one is the hardcore. Second is your capability to understand the domain. Third is to understand the ecosystem. And fourth is at least we should have some futurism. So where we will be 5 years down the line. I think it will surprise you. You take a guess since when I've been reading AI. Not practicing, but reading, at least reading.
I think I came to your office probably 10 years back.
Okay.
And I saw these books related to AI, cyber
So I have been
desk.
reading AI since 2010. It is nearly the same time when Demis Hassabis founded DeepMind.
Can you
Correct.
explain that a bit more, sir?
See, this guy is one of the freakiest brains the world has seen. Not because of the intellect and which he certainly has, there is no doubt about
Yep.
it. But the way he has utilized that intellect. So he's been one of the world-class chess players. He was a gaming expert. Gaming means writing games, creating games. Then he did computer science in London, in Oxford or Cambridge, one of the top colleges. Then he went ahead to do a doctorate in neuroscience from Stanford University.
Yep.
And might be would have done a couple of other things also. And he could envision the world in a totally different manner from what you and me do. You might be able to envision a little more, but certainly I cannot do. Correct. So that being where it is, he put all his capabilities and expertise in creating a company which is known as DeepMind. And his whole game was, though he has never explicitly said, is that products or services like say Deep Blue or IBM Watson, they have outlived their age.
Yep.
And he will create model after model after model, which will keep changing the world. And fast forward 2024, AI scientist, I'll call him a scientist, primarily the scientist.
Yeah.
An AI scientist doing research in biology, which is predicting protein patterns, gets a Nobel Prize in chemistry. For the impact which AlphaFold could make on drug discovery and improving health, healthcare, whatever of the world to come.
That brings us to a very, very important point of emphasizing on interdisciplinary education. In your thought process, what should be how should Indian education system transform to bring this interdisciplinary concept into education?
See, first and foremost, we believe in something, or I believe in something, which is known as a leading sector economy. So from economy, we'll come to the individuals, or we can come to the enterprise also. The leading sector economy concept is like Japan started with steel industry. So it went ahead, and there are lots of things which kept on adding to the steel industry. There is no industry which basically is there solo. So lots of things getting added, then things get pulled up, and the country forges ahead. So I personally feel that I'm not very sure of the fact, but it is Mackenzie's T theory. So T theory is this way, which means that any particular expertise or domain, say if it has 15 verticals or 15 areas of knowledge or 15 specializations, so you should know reasonably well, so that you don't get bluffed at least, of all these areas, and be an expert in 2 or 3 of them at least.
Okay.
Then you carry a nature of confidence, which is something very, very unique. And one thing which I would object to is, so we have crossed the interdisciplinary age.
Okay.
Because by interdisciplinary, I find it to be a binary, that instead of one discipline, you're getting 2 disciplines. You might take it further, you say, no, sir, it is 3 disciplines or whatever.
Yeah.
But in English language, so after 1, it is 2, and then it is multi. So I feel we are living in a multidisciplinary world. And when what is required, we don't know. See, the best thing what Demis Hassabis said is, crack intelligence, you will be able to crack everything.
What does crack intelligence mean?
Where does the intelligence come from? What is intelligence?
Okay.
So if you are able to master that intelligence, you can use it for everything. So intelligence becomes your handmaiden. So one day he is using intelligence for a game called Go, which has infinite permutation, combination or moves. I don't know, the Korean game. And the AlphaGo was able to defeat the world champion. And that particular day, that guy said, boss, if I can't beat a machine, I quit the game, and he quit the game. Then Alpha Zero, or one of these, he is running Alpha series. Like our movies which run sequel after sequel. So he is running his Alpha series, and one of these Alpha, I think it was Alpha Zero or whichever, if I don't remember correctly, it was in 2015 or 2014, if I'm not mistaken, just after Go or just before Alpha Go, was able to consume the complete knowledge of chess in this world in 4 hours, 10 years back, and was able to play moves, or at least one move, which no human player has ever played in the history of mankind. Now we talk about artificial general intelligence. That is not the issue. Issue is that Dr. Murthy has 5,000 documents. You have very, very diligently, with lots of pain and effort, and you have created those documents. Everything is relevant. You might need few documents today, few tomorrow, in any combination, any permutation. It can also happen that I need a paragraph 278, just for explaining, of document 112 and paragraph 438 of document 113, and in a similar manner. Can you locate?
It's very, very difficult.
You will not be able to locate. So let's be very clear. But this tool will do, right? Correct. I went for a panel discussion right now. Why I was able to accept this is, and when did I get the invite? because these panel discussions invite are very, very short. It is around 2:30 or 2:45.
Today?
Yes, or to 3 o'clock, something of that nature. And then I thought for a couple of minutes, and then I said, okay, I'll go, I'll talk to Dr. Murthy, and I'll come for this, and here I'll manage in this manner only the way I managed. Now, what was the source which was giving me confidence? It was an AI tool. I have all the points here. I have on my tab and I have on my laptop. Mostly I don't use. But nonetheless, I go through that so that it is at the back of your mind, and there are lots of things which, the way we are having this conversation, lots of things come up. And you speak, and mostly, by God's grace, it is mostly relevant. So that is where we are in the expertise based. See, it is basically a multidisciplinary world. Now, first time in human history, I'm getting a feeling, and I think there are tons and tons of people across the globe who are getting a feeling that they have the tool to do whatever they want. And if a very high level of coding or even lowest level of coding, I've not been able to pick up in the last 25 years. And I thought that I'll not be able to do, so I've never tried. But now I'm convinced of the fact that if I put 15 days, I think I'll be able to manage.
Yeah.
So this is where we are. So the differentiating factor which I think India is already feeling about it, besides lots of other things, domain and all that, is communication. Now, first time in the history of technology, your capability at English language, propelled by domain, not outside, not that you start writing Victorian English, propelled by domain is equal to code.
Okay.
Why? Now, I write a problem statement or I write explain in a prompt. This I want. Correct. That is translated into code. And my master coder, who doesn't know English from Adam, what will he get out of these systems? I can't understand. And however much you might talk about vernacular and the capability of computers to get into any language and every language, I think compared to English, whatever computers can get into in any other language will not be more than 5%. And unfortunately, people who are dealing in another language, they don't have the capability even to find out that what is being churned out to you, whether it is right or wrong or whatever. So this is where we are today. I think we are very, very lucky, I think all of us, and might be these people are more lucky who are the younger generation, that they are at a cusp of change, at the precipice of completely redefining the world in a manner nobody would have ever imagined.
You talked about communication, and from a communication perspective, you write daily blogs,
Right.
and yesterday was 3,238 or 83rd blog.
Right.
You have been writing it since 2016.
Right.
That's one way of communicating. And the second mode that you have chosen is you have delivered more than 1,000 keynotes.
Right.
What has been the motivation behind this, and how do you find the most recent topic to write a blog? What is the thinking thought process that goes behind?
Motivation, see, my life has never run on motivation. I'm a motivation zero fellow. And I always believe that anybody looking for motivation in the outside world is like buying some radishes or carrot and all that. And that is never going to happen. So, motivation or the will to do or the urge to do,
Will to do.
us to do. Say there's been a research work unconnected to your technology and my life, but certainly when I was doing civil services and one of my paper was sociology. So, and that time I didn't know about South India and I never come to South India. First time I came to South India is for training in the National Police Academy in Hyderabad. And subsequently, I spent all my life here. Of whatever little more is left, I think I'll be spending here. So there's a sociologist called McLelland. So he did a research in Kakinada, in one of the communities, tribals or whatever, whichever community, I don't remember correctly. So at the end of that whole research, he came up with one formula. And that formula you people have never heard in your life, and that you will not read as a formula also. Need to achievement is equal to achievement.
Need to achievement
Is equal to achievement.
how?
Now I had a need. I'll give you the most recent example. Correct. You saw me that I came by my own car and I was driving, right? My father didn't have a car. At least till the time I was at my father's place. After that, he bought. Might be he wanted me to go and then he bought, whatever. So in whichever manner, so I didn't get a chance to learn a car. So might be it was somewhere deep seated in me. Oh no, you drive, no, it's very stylish, this, whatever, I don't know. So then college happened, everything happened, then I got into the Indian Police Service. And there they teach you some 42 skills in nearly 2 years, 26 months and all that. Unfortunately, that quality of skills which you pick up is, I think, is left to anybody's imagination. So our driving classes was for 18 people or 20 people. 5 hours, 1 hour each, 5 days, and our driving was over and we got the certificate or we passed the exams, whatever. So after that, I came to Puttur, and in Puttur, I did some driving because all that red light, red light is there now. So there is no concept of driving. You drive wherever you drive, whatever you drive is fine. And then the traffic guys will take care of you rather than you take care of the steering. Correct, rather than you taking care of the steering. So once I came out of police, COVID times, my wife has been driving since donkey's numbers of years. So I used to open the gate and all that, and she used to take out the car, then I used to hop on. So whatever impression it carries, that's a different story. That is not a matter of our discussion today. So then COVID started to taper. And then I have friends and all that, they started inviting some company work and all that. Then twice I was put to shame. One was I had to go for lunch to somewhere in central Bangalore from HSR. I could not get a cab. Then I came to BDA. There also I could not get all those fellows who are there because there is too much of a demand there in HSR. Then I tried for a auto. I was able to manage a auto. After 10-15 minutes, somehow I reached that place. Fortunately for me, it was a public place where I left the auto wherever I could, and very stylishly I moved inside. The second was I was delivering a lecture in Kormangla Club. So the first time I got saved. Second time this whole team came to see me off. And I booked a Uber or Ola or something. That came with this printed thing, man. Some ad and all that. It looks like as if some monkey is going to get into this car. Dirty. So that day I said, boss, enough is enough. I don't deserve to put myself to shame. So it has been very tough. First is decide on which vehicle and what vehicle. Bit my Maruti company also helped. So we booked a Glanza and he said that chip is not available, you have to wait for 10 months. Then when that dream or that enterprise got broken, then with great courage I put my foot down in my house. This car nadiyalla, I want a SUV.
Okay.
So from there we started, bought this car. I would have hit this car not less than 10 to 12 times by now. I spent 30,000-40,000 on its repair. But the only thing which goes to my credit is that today I can drive on any terrain, in any traffic, anywhere with comfort, and I still feel that this is the best way I could have lived my life as far as my mobility is concerned. So this is skill and expertise. And fortunately or unfortunately, I think everything which I have learned on my own. So as a bad student, I never got a chance. I didn't go to engineering college. I didn't go to a management school. So where do you learn, man? You do BA Honours History and MA History in St. Stephen's College. You can be very flamboyant or snobbish about your academic credentials. But it is not adding up anywhere, no? If I start talking to you about medieval Indian history, I don't think you'll allow me to sit here for even a second. Correct. So that is there. That is where it is. If I talk about crime, I talk about variety of other things on nearly every English channel in the country at the national level. It is not because that I am talking like a police officer and I am bringing it that one single straight-jacketed horse type sort of a knowledge. It is because you can connect anything to everything and everything to anything. So daily post is a culmination of a urge to create something which is not straight-jacketed, which is not dictated by anybody. It is your own. So that is broadly, that is the daily post is not the only thing.
Oh,
So there's something which did not misfire, but I left it because I could not manage. Was I started a lecture series in Davangere. That is known as the Experiential Learning Lectures, ELL. And it was a massive hit. There were times where I was a very core speaker on medical ethics. I knew NABH in and out.
okay.
Correct. The doctors in Shimoga, they were up in arms. Who is this guy to talk on medical ethics? Then I pushed those guys through my police program. So then they finally came to line. But they are not also simple guys. There is also a tough nut to crack. So then they said, daytime we don't have time. If you want to lecture, 8 o'clock in the night, after we finish our clinic and all that. I was a hard nut to crack. I said, okay, fine, done. Then they said that Indian Medical Association, building, sir, there is no big hall. I said, we put 2 of your rooms and we put a projector on the other. If somebody is not interested, let him not see. So I reached there around 8:05, 8:10. Not one guy has gone inside the hall. Let him come. Big doctors now. So finally I went and they moved in. To cut the long story short, I started at 8:30. The hall where I was lecturing, might be 1 or 2 or 3 people at the max, have gone out and come back. Later I came to know that the other hall, not one fellow has left his seat. Marathon 2 hours, 15 minutes lecture.
What was it about?
Medical ethics to doctors. 350 doctors. In a place like Shimoga. And after this whole thing ended and Sammana, Gyamana, all these things happened, then there was a dinner laid out. Because if somebody takes your nonsense for 2 hours, 15, you have to feed them something, right? So after I came out, I was a hero. This is communication. You have to go into the enemy's domain and prove your worth. See, batting in life, and if you cricket is a different story, but if you play soccer, you should always be in the half of the adversary.
Yep.
So there will never be a goal. So I did experiential learning lectures, and one thing which I have a fancy for, and might be this podcast thing, might again bring out that competence in me. So I used to do something which we called freewheeling with Sanjay Sai. And that was meant only for students.
Okay.
And the total content of that used to be never more than 15 minutes. So you just introduce yourself, might be some 8-10 slides. And the last used to be, to start with freewheeling with Sanjay Sai, then bit of my very small intro, then whatever areas I did. And then last line I still remember, we used to write, and anything under the sun. ... And it was open house, might be auditorium, open air theatre, whichever way. And it used to generally go on for 2.5 to 3 hours. Only question answer. I once asked my driver that you don't understand English. Why do you sit in all this? Then he told, in Kannada he told me, Sir, tav bada chand matadtira. That I speak well. I said, how do you know about it? Then he says, nan public ge nodta irtane. So he sees how the audience is responding and he feels happy about it and he goes and tells everybody that my Saab is like this. So After doing all this, on 26th of September 2016, I just wrote one paragraph. Then second day I felt like writing again. So 15, 20 days I wrote, and it used to take a long time. And my wife also used to say, why every day you're writing this nonsense? So after 20 days or something, I decided, it was enough is enough, thank you. So that day only somebody rang me up. Not after leaving. I was still in a very indecisive sort of a state. He said, yaar itna acha likhte ho, kyun chhod raha? Then I said, no, okay, chalo, let me, I write. Then 3-4 months again the drama went on. Again I got disgusted. How much of time I am spending? What is this nonsense? Why I am doing? I am spoiling my family atmosphere at times, not always, but at times. Then again that day, 1 or 2 calls I got from somewhere. I think it's Providence or whatever, I don't know. So this kept on happening. And to stabilize took me around 1.5 to 2 years. The effort, if I tell you, then that's a different story altogether. That we'll leave it for some other day. So I kept writing and writing and writing. Now, 2 things I achieved out of it. Whatever people read, whatever they used for, inclusive of the big 4, they also used. But that I leave it aside. My capability to understand things, connect things, and have a knowledge canvas which is one of its kind in this country and might be even globally. So then you feel that there is no competition and you are basically on a enlightenment state, and people also started behaving in that manner. Correct. And if Dr. Murthy finally agrees, so one fine day we will take this Daily Post to Abu Dhabi or somewhere. And we will have a session in one of the top institutions there or anywhere on the face of this earth. And we will create an instant book. Out of that 16-17 lakh words, nearly 3,300 articles. So we just make a format, or might be the format is also made there. So we'll give the name of the book. I'll give a choice of 10 books. And the audience will say this book. Then we'll sit down and we'll make the index, chapters, everything. And we will keep it putting in a LLM. Or we will have a agentic AI only for this purpose. 18 lakh, 57 lakh, nothing, no.
Yeah.
The book is ready in 2-3 hours. And it goes on Amazon for sale. So I have all sorts of weird ideas. I keep doing it on a regular basis. And one of the very weird ideas which came to me a couple of days back is to create a podcast setup in my house.
Where do you get this weird idea?
I don't, absolutely no idea. And there are tons and tons of people who have been asking me, how do you pick your topic?
Is it a 3 a.m. thing?
No. No breakthrough thinking, no net and the butterfly, nothing is there. So somewhere something I write some, and the only thing which I'm surprised of, or I'm very fascinated with that is that once I get that word, that topic, no, I think I can write 4 paragraphs. Okay. Then it comes to me. So that is where it is, and over a period of time, might be somewhere in 2017, 2018, after putting in 17, 18 years in variety of things, connected, unconnected to police, governance, my life, anybody else's life. Now say in 2010 or 2011, 2012, you talk about Demis Hassabis. Who will talk to you in this country? They would not like to talk to you. They will say that you have gone mental.
Yep.
Or in 2017, 2018, my first post on GPT, I think it is 2018. I don't think there's anybody in this country. It was hell of an effort to understand what is this pre-trained transformer. First, what is this transformer only?
2018?
2018, I can show you. So this is the other game is, mostly in this country, that your degree is commensurate to your knowledge and expertise, which is a fallacy. Degree is your capability to write an exam and score in an exam, which is just not connected to anything. It might be connected, but more often than not, it is not connected. Demis Hassabis, neuroscience, computer science, tripod or whatever, gaming, chess, everything got connected because he connected.
You're saying formal education is not connected to
Your incapability to connect your education, maintain or keep your education intact and use that education for something worthwhile. You are not doing, right?
so capability can be developed is the
Yes, capability can be developed, and on the capability which has come out of your exam, that capability has to be developed. No, that is not capability.
what do we do to develop capability?
To develop capability, I'll tell you, there is no person in this world who has developed real capability through academic courses. Academic courses at best can be an entry point. And again, I'll give you Demis Hassabis' example where he says, where most of his employees are from Oxford, Cambridge, Stanford and Harvard, and most of them, I think 60-70% are doctorates and postdoctorates. So once they join that company, he tells them, look man, now you have come here, now I'll teach you research. So after doing doctoral, postdoctoral from Cambridge and Trinity and Whitchall College and Stanford, this fellow says, come, I'll teach you research. If I tell somebody today that I'll teach you how data can be utilized in police, how many people will listen? Nobody. Nobody.
Yeah.
So what is it worth? Only yesterday we were talking about, I don't remember from which country he comes from. He was challenging the integrity of medical data in this country. Openly was challenging. We were in that Yuki something on in Indiranagar. And you see how these guys are, people who were wedded to doing something worthwhile. He came to India for a conference on technology related to healthcare. Spent 3 days in Bombay. Yesterday, I think one day he was here and might be today he would have left. And they were having the evening party, their whole group. Still, he agreed to give us time. He moved out of that party. 35 minutes we discussed. And very sensible discussion. No coffee, no tea, nothing. Just 2 sips of water. And his break from his part. Now, are we ready to do that? You see, in our families, there is a relative has come, so I can't come for this, then this has come, that is. So, I think the whole of this country is rather bothered about worship, religion, family. So, if everything is taken care, then you'll attend to your work. How many times do we tell our children that, okay, your exams are over, now get into the real study? What we say, oh, so much he has studied, he is so harassed. So all are Einstein only here. Correct. And the parents push them in a manner so that they don't study. You know this knowledge life cycle. So we start with data and might be with end with data. So data processed is information. Right? When that information we are able to digest and assimilate and at least put to some use, then that is learning. When that learning can be used, even might be cross-discipline or for things which you have not been using on a regular basis, and there is a finality involved in that, then that is knowledge. Then the next stage is wisdom. When I say, okay, this will happen this way, that will happen that way. Out of 10 things I say, might be 2 only happen. But the trajectory is correct. The movement is correct. The thought process is correct. Then you say, no, okay, you talk to this man, it will make sense, and you're fine with it. Because I get people from every discipline, and I work in every discipline. Here I'm running a technology company. I have a computer vision research center in RV College of Engineering. I'm associated with Stevens Center of Advanced Learning for Public Policy. Okay. With Hindustan Petroleum on Vigilance. Here people say, this is my work. This is my expertise. Today, I face this problem every day with technologists. Sir, this is not my work. Your work you don't do. You don't know how to do. And the rest what you are being told, which is precisely your work, you say is not my work. It is something like our expert who has created this beautiful studio. So he says that on the light on the top is my work. The light on the side is not my work. And who will define that work? He will only define, nobody else will define. The things are breaking down and you define the work. You have a Bangalore stampede and you have 128 places or 140 places which have AI-enabled cameras. Then what do we understand? I can't understand anything. When you are incapable of doing physical policing, what AI will enable you? You have to reach that level to be enabled, right? If my medical records is contaminated or it is half-baked or only half created or whatever, what tool do I use? Okay, radiology use something. Where data comes, you can't use it. There are a variety of things. The broken thing, right? What do you do? Once I was approached to buy this I2 software. It's a very good data analytics for crime and all that. IBM only.
Yep.
They came to me. And most of these MNCs, for good, bad or the ugly, they don't deal directly with customers in this country. For reasons best known to them. And they deal through most shady of the system integrators or intermediaries or buffers. That is primarily for the reason that they should get the full amount in advance. And this fellow, this Indian guy, let him keep struggling after investing his money. So, these IBM guys, so they sent somebody to me the subsequent day, they wanted to sell I2. It was some 5.5 crores, 6 crores something. So I asked him, which company do you belong to? So he told me some company. Then I said, I'll not talk to you. This is an IBM employee and I like to see the that card also. Whatever is employee card and all that. So finally, they didn't have much of a choice. So some IBM senior guy came. Fortunately, I met their, they call it as the distinguished engineer or something, who is supposed to be #1 engineer in IBM. I met him once. So this guy comes to me and I have only one question. Have you gone through my database? Because the whole game is there, right? And he says, no. Then why are you selling this to me? Then I told him we will certainly buy. Because he was coming through some circus. So I said, we will certainly buy. But you study my database and you give me authoritative report, taking the responsibility that my database is matured enough or at least at the lowest of the threshold to be used for I2. He disappeared and never came back. After 6 months, this 5.5, 6 crore software, their price changed to 10 crores. Then again they tried through somewhere, some letter came from whatever sources or whatever. So I thought it is best not to reply and that's the end of it. So the incapability of the technology dispensation in this country to understand, appreciate and act upon the harsh realities of our business requirements and also the incapability to execute projects because we are executing all projects in the American style. Literally makes everything broken. And let me tell you, it's not limited only to the government.
Let us switch gears and talk about your high school. You mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, you mentioned those 2 years transformed you.
Right.
How did it transform and what was the trigger?
See, the trigger happened in 8th standard. And don't go by my fluency of the language now. But those days, I think there were barely anybody who spoke in English in my school. And it was a new school. We were the highest class from 3rd standard till the 10th standard. To a level that we started ICSE course in 9th standard instead of 8th. So you can understand what pathetic situation we were in. And most of these guys, they used to talk, at least in school, they would manage Hindi. Once all of us came home, so we got into the local dialect, your Tudu types and all that. So there's a neighbor of mine. So he had a guest. And some bright, very bright student, they said he has come from one college is there in Delhi. Delhi was as alien to us. There is nothing so alien to the current day generation. But we deliver something which we didn't know what it was. So anyway, so some fellows invited us. We also went in our shorts, and because that's the only thing we had, so we went there. And then we started talking to him, bhaiya this, bhaiya that, and all that. So we asked him, "Ab kya banna chahte hain?" or something in our whatever broken Hindi and no English we had. So he told us to what I remember very correctly that he was doing BA English honors in St. Stephen's College, and he wanted to become an author. So it completely went off our thought process that this fellow is bonkers, is mad. So he's not talking about any job or anything. Anyway, as luck will have it, I had the fancy. So I said, no, this is a college where something they are teaching. Something. What they are teaching, I don't know, but something they are teaching. Then somehow there's, I think my father, some friend or something, his son came, who was practicing in the Supreme Court and all that. So my father just asked, yesterday somebody had come, what is this college? Oh, uncle, don't send ever your child to that college. It's full drugs, girls, this, that, whatever. Anyway, I was not getting admission, so it did not concern me. So when I reached my 9th standard, I was convinced of the fact that I will not get admission in any good school for my plus 2, which is your PUC. So I started writing to a father by name Father McNamara. He was heading St. Xavier School in Bokaro. The 3 top schools then in Bihar, undivided Bihar. So one was St. Xavier's Bokaro, second was St. Michael's Patna, and third was Notre Dame Patna. Notre Dame was for girls, St. Michael's for boys, and St. Xavier's Bokaro was co-ed. So I started writing to him, and as luck will have it, he used to reply back also. And that postcard. And it went on. And as I expected, I performed. The performance is 59.3. Correct. You will not get admission. Anyway, my brother, he had studied from BHU.
Okay.
So he had some connects in UP. So he told me, तुम्हारा तो कहीं होगा नहीं, चलो. So we went to Allahabad. He got me admitted into boys' high school. I don't know how. Boys' high school is a very, very prestigious school there. I was happy about the fact that I got admission there, but there was no hostel accommodation. So it finally took me to somebody who was a teacher there, who was ready to give me a PG sort of a thing. Now that gentleman was a Christian. Though I studied all my life in a Christian school, Jesuit missionary, and this was, I think, a Protestant, and that's all fine. But to my mind, very obscurantist or whatever mind or the way I was brought up, I have absolutely no idea as to what came in my way. I said, no, I will not stay in his house. So we are back to square one. We come back to our small place called Daltonganj in Jharkhand now. Now, karna kya? Now all the schools have started somewhere in June. We are here in the beginning of August. So leave aside getting a school, I'll be losing the whole year. And subsequent year also, if there are no takers, then I remain unmarried only, right? So I told my father, so let's go to Bokaro. Father McNamara, he will give. And he told me, do you have any idea of that school? I said, I have all the idea of that school. Let's go. So ICSC, you have this point system. So I had 29 points. The lesser the point, the better you are. And highest is 6 points. So my father or somebody told me, there is nobody who gets more than 13, 14 points. You are at 29.
Just double.
Double means you are pathetic, so in a very decent language, so to say. So I said, okay, let's go. So finally agreed, we went. And we went to the school, we wrote something and we sent it to him. And he remembered. He was 6'3", Australian Jesuit missionary, one of its kind. We will not find such sincere, hardworking and flamboyant. Bush shirt and all that, 6'3", must. Hey, come in, young boy. Now that I could barely understand what he was speaking. So finally he said, okay, we'll admit you. Then he asked me how much you have lost in last this thing. I said, I know you started your this thing on 20th of June, so we have already lost these many days. Then he said, okay, you join from tomorrow. And I said, Father, I can't join from tomorrow. I have to go back, get my stuff and all that. So he had a hearty laugh. And then he told, when can you come? Then I said, 18th I'll come. So you'll take 10 days. I said, yes, we will take 10 days. I'll go and come back. He gave me admission. I came and joined. Science and maths was out. And I started working. These people started on 20th of June. I started on 18th of August. And December was our 11th exam. And 11th exam, I performed really well. I don't know how and why, absolutely no idea. Because I was a very mediocre guy, very, very mediocre guy. To a level that in school of that nature, I don't think the only thing which can come out of you is inferiority complex and nothing else. Because there is nothing I could be proud of.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did well in my 11th standard. That emboldened me. And 12th also I maintained.
What did you tell yourself while you were there?
See, my only aim then was, I don't know why and how, that I should go to St. Stephen's College. There's nothing else. And because I was bad in maths, I did not try for the IIMs. Had I been reasonably fine in maths, no. Might be I wouldn't have got into civil services. I'd have got to one of the IIMs and finally got into a different nature of a job.
Yeah.
I could score nearly 100% in English even in those days. And in one of the United Nations exam, I scored 100%
Wow.
in English language. So anyway, as luck will have it, 12th went off fine and all that. So basically 18th of August 1980 and my last exam was on 23rd of March 1982. So just around 3 months this side, 4 months, 4.5 months, 7.5 months. So 12 and 7, 19.5 months. Two days I went back home. Now again, as I expected, as luck will have it, I got 75%. In humanities, those days it was something out of the world. I topped history. Then, okay, next is St. Stephen's College, let's go to Delhi. My father said, we are useless fellow, why should we go to that place? History over Delhi, why you should go? My maternal uncle told me, hey, history, let him study here only. If he's doing maths or physics, then let him go. For history, why should he go? I said, boss, I'll not study. Let's be very clear. If I study in St. Stephen's College, otherwise remain illiterate. I filled up application for all the top colleges in India. St. Xavier's, Calcutta, Elphinstone, all the those days, 4 metros. And I got call letters from all the colleges.
Is it because of the high confidence that you had, or are you rebellious by nature?
I am neither rebellious nor do I have confidence. I'm a very scared sort of a character. And that scare forces me to be on the track.
Okay.
That is a scare. I don't want to do something wrong. I don't want to do something which puts me in a very, very embarrassing sort of situation. And I'll tell you frankly that I'll be able to give you at least 50 instances in my life which I don't think of all the people I know, anybody would have been able to keep it secret. And that also for all your life. And somewhere 70, 75, 80 years of age, I'll divulge all those. So, the scare was that I moved out of wherever I come from. I have reached an intermediate position, which means St. Xavier's School. And then to the springboard, the penultimate place for your career, that is St. Stephen's College, where lock, stock and barrel, people get into civil services, people get into IIMs, people get into big universities, Ivy League. That is a standard format there. We're going to Cambridge and Oxford and INLACs and Rhodes, and it is a everyday story. So from there, I don't clear civil services with what, man?
Oh, okay. That was the springboard for your civil service.
Yes. Because, see, it might sound critical, but the nature of the student community there, it certainly outbeats Any grouping of civil services. Any grouping.
And you are talking about you being very scared.
Yeah.
In Kannada, we say ಭಯಭಕ್ತಿಯಿಂದ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ.
Howdo?
Is that what you are saying?
I think broadly, yes, if I understand it correctly.
Okay.
Scared, you might call it, or fear of something wrong happening, or somebody telling me that I have not put in the best. See, one thing I don't know, you have interacted with for quite some time. Even if you talk something critical of me, I generally don't react. And most of the times, I'll try and set it right. First, I'll try and see whether I concur with your views or not. 90% I concur with views. That fellow might be talking out of fun or whatever, anywhere. But generally, whatever you express, it has some amount of ground truth.
Okay.
It has some amount of ground truth.
So your starting point is there is value in
There
somebody
is
that is being told to.
value in every feedback, every suggestion, every interaction, every conversation, if or when you are convinced of the fact that that is deliberate to embarrass you or humiliate you or put you in a bad light, then that does not happen.
Okay.
And that any of us can understand.
Yeah. That's very true.
But riding roughshod on everything and feeling that I am only right and I can only deliver and I am out of the world and I should be eulogized, and you do self-eulogy from morning till evening, you do self-certification and all that, you will reach nowhere. And we have not millions, billions of examples in this country. Everybody is living his passion in this country, but nothing passionate is happening, right? From morning till evening, we talk of product development in India. We talk of software. Where is it? There is no software, there is no product. Right? We'll keep living in finical only all our life. Correct. Anyway, that's a different story altogether. When it comes to me, this is how the progression has happened. And somebody lit that St. Stephen's College. I didn't know what St. Stephen's College was.
Can you talk about your life in St. Stephen's?
See, St. Stephen's College is a totally different story altogether. See, when I applied, so I think around 33,000 people applied from all across the country for around 300 or 350 seats. So the whole India applies for that. And that's the only college which takes full-fledged interviews.
Full-fledged interview. Okay.
The rest is all cut off. So anybody getting into Stevens would have taken admission somewhere else for sure.
Okay.
Well, so that safety net has to be there. So I went there, I applied, and then they said, okay, come for interview. They put the list. Okay, fine. Then what do you do? After 3 days, it does not happen. Then what do you do? So you go next door, Hindu College, Arnab Goswami's college. So you go next door. There you say, cut off this much. Okay, you're clearing. You go there, show your marks, cut this, that, all formality you do. 780 rupees you give. You get admission. After you get admission here, then you come here, they will pay you, they will return the money after 2-3 months. By the time your father also would have forgotten. So that 780 rupees you can enjoy. So that was the plus point. Correct. So Stephens, there is very little of teaching.
Okay.
Correct. And I'm talking about liberal arts, I'm not talking about science. Science, I think the teaching and practical, all that goes on and all that. But liberal arts, very little of teaching is there. So we had only 8 regular classes in our first year. Only 2 papers, 4 classes each in 1 week. And subsidiary was Hindi and English. So 4 classes there. And we were smart enough not to take supplementary papers in the annual exam. So there it is absent. Then you have to take these additional papers. You have to take supplementary exam. Because you have to pass.
Yeah.
Supplementary exam, you don't get marks. So you get only pass and fail. So 8 papers of BA Honours in first year, 12 papers in second year, and 16 papers in third year. By 1:30 in the afternoon, everything is over and nice hot lunch is ready for you. After that, you're free for the day. So everybody, you develop a community sort of a bonding. Then most of the times you spend in library. Then there are variety of activities. We used to have something called an informal discussion group, IDG. So every Wednesday, some top fellow used to come. It was to a level I don't know, but I think the skipper at that particular point in time, they said he was scared of coming to our college when he was invited because he thought might be the students would put him to some sort of a ridicule or fun or whatever. The college provides you an environment of self-growth, academic and otherwise. There is nobody who is brilliant or everybody is brilliant, whatever. So water has found its own level.
Okay.
So anybody trying to outsmart the other, that nobody takes. So everybody has a very, very normal living. Hawaii chappal, this, that, all sorts of stuff. I don't think even in the shadiest of the colleges here, somebody will wear like that. But that was our normal dress and we were perfectly fine. So one jeans, one kurta, one this thing. But the main location used to be the library. Then we used to have a Shakespeare Society. Best of the place. Kabir Bedi and all that. They've all come out of the same stables. Current, our India's most flamboyant person, Shashi Tharoor also comes from there. Oh. Okay, so there are lots and lots. Manishankaraya, this, that. So we'll not get into that. Now, what I'm talking about is the environment that college provides. One is that you learn quite a lot out of it, and second, it gets ingrained in you to pull you through for rest of your life. And it creates in you a nature of confidence, which is one of its kind. And while being very, very normal and being very, very non-brilliant, everybody heart of heart feels that we are cut above the rest. And that's snob sort of a thing.
Okay.
So while on the face of it you behave completely normal, heart of heart you feel that, okay, to an extent that we had a principal, I think, who has a background from Cambridge, William Shaw Rajpal. So wherever, whether it's a TV channel or a marriage or a function or anywhere, if he sees some very smart fellow and who is very successful and is talking well and all that, oh, he has to be from St. Stephen's College. So that is the nature of principle we had. And I remember one of our friends' marriage in Patna. So one of our professors had come to attend the marriage. So he's just talking to one of these and he sees a group of young boys and girls together. Hey, they are all Stephenians. So that sort of a thought process there. And we remain connected, and it is not like those hostel type schools where you remain connected on family, some values, this, that, and that. Ours is pure expertise, capability, and things of that nature. The other day, I think around 4 or 5 days back, or might be a week back. So, India Today TV, they invited me for some program. It was something related to tech, I think. I don't remember what it was. So, I went there. So, first question was asked, and I could see only myself on the screen and the anchor. And then the question shifted to somebody else. And that somebody happened to be Pawan Dugal. Pawan Dugal is my classmate.
Oh, okay.
So we had a nice time. So broadly, this is how it is. And see what it does to you. It allows your ambitions to soar. So it's not a very straight-jacketed thing. You feel confident about yourself. You know that, okay, life you'll be able to achieve. Something lose also, it's fine. Something you gain also, it's fine. Because there are lots and tons of stories there, where you find people like, say, Kabir Bedi, they're going and doing some literary work in the night because they didn't have money and all varieties of things. So there's stories and stories and stories. There are also, I think one guy, not in Stevens, he was in Hindu. So he did not get admission in St. Stephen's College. So he joined Hindu college and they say he was a quizzer, one of its kind. And in second year, third year, he said, so there is not much this thing is studying. So I'll study for civil services straight away. So 1.5, 2 years he enjoyed. And then he started for civil services. As the story goes, he cracked and he topped the country or whatever. So that is the culture of what is North Campus in Delhi. And this college is 1881 vintage. General Ziaul Haq came. So when every day at 17, 18, 19, 20 years of age, you interact people of that caliber, and even your teacher, somebody is a Rhodes Scholar, somebody is an Inlac Scholar and all that, I think something rubs on you. So that is broadly what it is. And I don't think Indian bureaucracy has reached that level of expertise, capability, maturity, confidence, and righteousness which this college is.
There are a lot of bureaucrats which come from this college,
Right.
right? What happens to them along the way? They lose something, right?
See, bureaucracy is a different game.
Okay.
Till the time you try to get into bureaucracy, you are a brilliant person. The day you join bureaucracy, it is bureaucracy. And I keep on repeating over and over again that the Israeli army is the best HR machine in the world. There's conscription in Israel, for your kind information. And those 3 years or 5 years of conscription, as much of a military training, I think more than a military training, they spend their time in learning technology. And at 21, 22 years of age, they are fit enough to join any top MNC in the world. Now, that you compare with the Indian bureaucracy. So when we enter, we are the brightest in the world. We can take on anybody, literally anybody. Somewhere I would have left World Bank and come, somebody would, so all sorts of people. One guy we had in Indian Revenue Service, first day only, when we were in our foundational course. So he said, Sanjay, my salary was 6,300. Now they are giving me 2,900 only. I said, you only left now. Correct. There's other friend of ours. So he said, I'm not interested. So I'll go and I'll become a stockbroker. He did his management from Singapore or somewhere. Lo and behold, so that was say 86, 87, 88, something like that. In 1994, I was traveling by train somewhere. So morning they come with magazine gigs in. So Business India, I see a face on the cover. It was that guy only. And today also he happens to be one of the top stockbrokers and stock brains in India. So like that you find people all around the place. So you feel, okay, success is a part of very normal living. So one thing that college teaches you that success is very normal to life. Academic excellence, brilliance is very normal to life. So you should take it as any common human being. Which is something which is very distinct from any other institute. We are here first only. IIT, he goes, he says, I am an IITian. And parents though even more. So I think we should give t-shirts to parents also. Of St. Stephen's College, IIT, or Nature of Medical Sciences or whatever.
Parent of an IIT.
Parent of an IITian.
Okay.
Or grandparent of IIT. Whichever way you call it. So this has been the journey, and one credit, I don't know, I cannot give it to every Stephenian, but certainly there are a large number of Stephenians who remain learning creatures for all their life. So there is something where I think that seed is also sown.
Okay.
How many people do it's a different story altogether, but certainly that capability comes on you where you can read, you can assimilate, you can explain, you can narrate, you can write, you can execute, you can do whatever. So knowledge primarily becomes your handmaiden. So that is what I feel, because we have lots of writers, we have all sorts of people we have.
Can you talk about your family?
See, I come from a family of a lawyer, I can. My father was a lawyer. So before getting into the family, he has a very fascinating story. And I think somewhere my VRS also connects to that.
Okay.
Or why I did not have fear in quitting. So he joined those days, which was the highest level in revenue department or revenue service or whatever. So he joined as an inspector in the British days. I think somewhere early 40s, late 40s, something like that. So he joined in Calcutta. And my eldest sister, we 4 sisters and 2 brothers. So my eldest sister, she fell sick somewhere in Bihar, Hazaribagh or somewhere. So he asked for leave, he didn't get leave. So he just came without taking leave. After she was all right, he went back. And everybody here they told him very clearly that you go ask sorry and you start working. He said, yes, yes, yes. So there he went, all his British bosses and whosoever. So they told him, let's forget Mrs. Hai and you get on to your work and this we will reconcile. He said, a job which can't give me leave for my daughter's illness, why should I do that job in the first place? It's useless, not worthy of doing, no. Then they begged and he said, no, you take my paper, thank you. And he had nothing. Literally nothing. My grandfather, I think, used to work for some private Jagirdar, Jamindar type something, I don't know. After that, he came back, did his law. He didn't have a law degree also.
Oh.
Did his law. And then he started practicing. And the small place he was in. So, he was a very respected lawyer for all his life. In, I think, 69, he was invited to the judiciary as additional district judge. He refused. He did not move to the High Court in Ranchi. And his life went on. He's a very good press reporter. So, he represented Bihar in the first, second and the third press councils. He was the founder, president of Bihar State Press Reporters Association, which Lal Bahadur Shastri inaugurated in 64, 65 something. He belonged to the present, he was in the Jansan, so he had his own travels with Destiny in emergency and all that. So, he was a different sort of a person and he gainfully lived till nearly the last day of his life, but for the last 1 week. So, all my 4 sisters, they got married where they were dead. My brother studied from BHO and he was principal in the local college. He also retired, he's around 75, 76 now. I think a couple of days back, I had gone to Ranchi for my sister's son's engagement. That fellow works in Amazon. So, the youngest of the 4, so we were just talking something and evening I was to write my daily post, something was happening. And somebody told me, itna kyun padhte ho? Something of that nature, something cropped up in a family sort of a gathering. So, in a very joking or a humorous or a witty manner or might be even sarcastic, you can call it. So, I said कि बाकी 5 लोगों ने नहीं पढ़ा तो सबका मिला के मेरे को पढ़ना पड़ता है. So, out of 6, 5 did not do anything greatly worthwhile in academics or whatever. So, it was, I think the bandwagon came to me so that I compensate for the rest of them. So, wit, sarcasm, humor, that has been a part of me and I think I express things much better by wit, sarcasm and humor than in a normal course of things. And it becomes very, very clear and my own understanding is that wit is directly proportional to intellect.
So is sarcasm.
Sarcasm becomes little on the other side also, but wit is something which the Indian population has not agreed to live with.
Okay.
And one thing which I'm very, very happy about with the social media becoming the mainstream, that humor and wit has come to the mainstream to a great, great level. Otherwise, it was completely missing. But for this Hasya Kavi types, those humorous points, but for that, it was literally missing. And following that Hasya Kavi types certainly is not in me. But now you have lots of very humorous things, very nice things.
Like Kapil Sharma show?
Not Kapil Sharma. Oh, that is different. You have some a Bhagat Ram or something. So one Nigam is there. So we have couple of very, very slapstick comedy. I've never been watching Hindi for nearly all my life. And in my house, you will not find even a book in Hindi. But these YouTube channels, they've really been doing well. And these people are very well aware of the political scenario, and they deliver that wit in a manner which is just unimaginable. I could have never imagined that you will be able to come up with a script and such sort of a script and even play act it. We are slowly moving to a world where wit is there. Somehow there's lots of stand-up comedians. So they have got into a language which is not acceptable.
Uh, if there are any youngsters who are ambitious of entering into civil services, would you be open to coach them, mentor them?
See, I've been mentoring civil service aspirants for a long time.
Okay.
In my own small way, whenever they come to me, or I get a chance, or I address any of the educational institutions, sometimes even after they clear the mains. We did this time also, I think for 6-7 I did. My team means we have few people. So I think together for 12 we did. So we have been doing that, and I'm 100% open. And it is, I think the threshold today is much more common than it was in our days. Because but for 2 papers of one subject, rest is all general studies.
What is the best way to reach you if there is an aspirant?
Best way to reach me is on my email ID, I presume.
Okay.
si65@gmail.com. I think that's the best way. But if I find after that some value and see today what happens in civil services, the aspirants are too many. See, we used to calculate those days also. And I think might be some 1.5 lakh, 2 lakh people used to take the exam. So our first elimination schedule was, so that fellow flunks in prelims, so the story is over. So after prelims, there are only 10,000 people. In 10,000 people, we never thought that there are more than 3,000 to 4,000 people who are serious contenders.
Oh.
So we never found that it is something of that sort of a stuff where it is so difficult to get into. And fortunately, because of that thought process, at least 19 of 21 friends, we got into civil service, of who desired to get in. There are also people who have done exceedingly well in wherever they have gone. They have done better than us, most of them. But that particular point in time, we were more successful. Okay. Like Pawan Duggal. He's been number 1 cybercrime lawyer for the last 25 years.
That is true. Yeah. It was a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Before we allow you to go, please tell us the secret of your beard. Secret behind
There is no secret of this beard. I think first is, I should accept that might be I'm inspired by you. And second would we go for a bit of a medical issue that I have some rashes on my cheek. So till the time that gets sorted out, I'm sporting a beard. But if finally I get in love with it, then I'll continue with that. But it's extremely wonderful, fascinating to talk to you. And I've been knowing you for a long, long time. And in your new avatar, both as an entrepreneur and as a podcaster, I wish you all the luck. And we hope and pray that our ideas, as it has been converging all our life since the time we met, keeps converging for rest of our fruitful life, and we are able to deliver something for the community which is slightly different, more valuable, ethical, and
That is true.
helps people, more so the younger generation and the professional crowd, to find the right North Star and the right trajectory of life. Thanks a lot, Doctor.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.